I'll tell you one thing right now, all right? These movie companies out here, they're spending lots of money, and they're spending too much money for you not to go see these sons of bitches. Movies! I like them. You're seeing them sometimes. Maybe you're watching them on your Diddy's Netflix. But what makes a movie a good movie? What makes a movie a bad movie? And then where's that weird space in between where it's good, but you just didn't go see it? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about 10 of my underrated movies that you probably didn't go see, but that's okay. You can get them on the dividend, or maybe you'll at least find them on one of the 400 different streaming services that wonderfully provide movies for you for the low price of $3,000 combined dollars per month. And these are in no particular order. I can't put these movies in order. These are just movies I like, and not a whole lot of people talk about them, or people rip on them for whatever reason. I don't know. We'll be talking about why these movies are good, why you probably didn't go see them, but as far as like time span, we're going to keep it in that like YouTube generation, where like 2000s 90s area ish, because I know some of you kids, when you see that black and white, y'all just run to the fucking hills. So we're gonna kind of keep it in a narrow window for this time, and who knows, maybe we'll come back and we'll do another one if my crippling depression allows. Without further ado, even though we just adoed for like at least 2 minutes, here are the BOS movie reviews, 10 underrated movies. The first one is a little comedy ditty called Pleasantville. Just a brief synopsis of it. It's basically about a kid who gets trapped inside his favorite TV show, and the TV show, it's black and white. What are we gonna do now? Fuck, you just ran for the hills. But it's basically Spider-Man getting caught in the Andy Griffith Show. And they're not, look, even Don Knotts is in there. As the people basically turn deviant in the show, they transform into color, and then they get discriminated against for not being as wholesome as the black and white people. It's a really good like allegory for TV, basically, kind of like a love letter to the transition from black and white to color. I don't know why people didn't go see this movie, probably because they saw the trailer was in black and white. I don't know. It's actually really good, and it's one of Don Knotts' last movie roles, and it's like he literally just plays himself. Basically just plays Barney Fife in this. And for someone who was trying to get away from a character, his last hurrah was like, you know what, fuck it, let's lean into this shit. It's a funny little movie, and it's cute, and I don't say cute very often. Number 2 is My Fellow Americans, which, stick with me here, it's a buddy friend road trip movie that stars ex-presidents. Now, something seems like today this would be like a reality show. Throw fucking Obama and W in a house and film them. But this movie actually stars Jack Lemmon and James Garner, and they are fucking amazing. I actually like this movie, this Jack Lemmon movie, more than I like Grumpy Old Men. Like, I don't know why, just the humor in it, and like they're basically kind of ripping on the country as a whole. And I'm not really like into politics and political humor, really broad brush 90s outlook on how things were back then and how the parties hated each other. But at the same time, you know, you're kind of cut from the same cloth, and that's what you end up realizing by the end of it. And you actually become friends. It's past wholesome legislation. But this also has like a shit ton of other people. Fucking Wilford Brimley's in this. Dan Aykroyd's in it. Kevin McAllister's dad's in it. But just the chemistry between Jack Lemmon and James Garner ripping on each other the entire movie is fucking great. Don't buy into the whole political thing of it. That's just the window dressing. It's these two characters that hate each other becoming friends, which is the actual story. Maybe that's what turned people off to it to begin with. Just the whole political overtones. No one really cared about that, but it's really good. Oh, shit, I don't remember what fucking number 3 was. Oh, I remember now. Titus. Let's get Shakespearean in this mother. Titus is a movie adaptation of Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus. Now, granted, nowadays, Titus Andronicus is probably my favorite Shakespeare play because it's fucked up beyond compare. But when I was like a theater kid coming up through high school and college, like this was the easiest way to make fucking Shakespeare palatable for a bunch of kids that didn't give a shit about a dead man who didn't even know how to spell his own name. The director and the production design was the same person as Julie Taymor, is responsible for like Lion King on Broadway. And it's this really, really surreal, fucking creepy, fucking awesome rendition of a Shakespeare play and making it modern and almost like dystopian in a way. If you don't know anything about Titus Andronicus, if you know anything about Shakespeare, this is a good way to like get yourself into it if you're kind of a weirdo or one of those girls that tries too hard. And I didn't even mention the fact that Anthony Hopkins is in it. And he's the fucking best. He's also a good chef. Wink and a nod if you've read the play, which I know none of you have. This one's probably going to be hard to find. I found this on DVD in like a Second and Charles in Charge, or whatever the fuck it's called. But I was like super lucky and I was just like, oh fuck, I remember this, and watched it, and it holds up. It's weird and kooky and altogether ooky. Taking up the Ric Flair spot for the symbol of excellence. Number 4 is the movie Flight, which is probably the most recent movie on this list, maybe? Flight stars Denzel Washington. He is a airplane pilot and he's a cocaine addict. You know, two great tastes that taste great together. Like the very beginning of the movie is him trying to save this plane, right, from crashing because there's some kind of malfunction on it. Like that's just the first 20 minutes. The rest of it is them trying to cover up the fact that he was high and drunk the entire time that he saved these people. Yeah, it might be Oscar bait to an extent. I don't remember when it came out. It's still an actually really good movie, and Denzel is amazing in it. Like actually showing what people go through and the hoops they jump through just to cover the fact that they don't want to get clean and Denzel like does that perfectly. And also War Machine is in it, and he's kind of a worm. What really steals the show on this is John Goodman. Damn, you want to watch a movie just about him. He plays a drug dealer, and it's great. He might be on the screen for like 10 minutes in the movie, but that 10 minutes like makes the movie because he really sells what this dude Denzel like has to put himself through just to basically get through the day. I really don't know why this movie flew under the radar so you see what I did there? Woo! I don't know why this movie didn't like get the play that it probably should have. It came out around the same time as like Zero Dark 30, which I think everyone jizzed their pants over. So maybe it just got shuffled under. That's the only thing I can think of. But I still think it made like $160 million or something. So that's like 5 times the amount it cost to make it. And I know when people hear the word character study, they immediately just think Joker because that's how the movie was advertised. So now it's a cool buzzword. But this actually is a character study on something that, you know, a lot of people fucking deal with. And of course, I'm talking about the inability to fly a plane sober. I don't know about you, I crashed like 3 planes in the last month. I owe a lot of people money. Number 5. This is the oldest movie on my list for these 10. It's called Gung Ho, and I'm not talking about the war movie with the exclamation point at the end of it. This is actually a Michael Keaton movie, and it was directed by Opie from Mayberry. How the fuck does Andy keep coming up? This movie is a goofy 80s movie. That guinea rat is going crazy, but it's about making cars. It's about people working in a car factory, like in a blue-collar town, and then here come the Japanese to try to streamline things. I wouldn't say that it's a masterpiece. It's not at all, but it really does a very good job of like showing the differences between Japanese work ethic and American work ethic. So much to the fact that I've heard tell that they showed this movie to Japanese and American like business conglomerates, show the differences and how people act in the different countries, and so it's not so much of a culture shock, which is basically what this entire movie is about. Japanese precision versus American how-to beer drinking. And it's actually a very similar movie to one that's going to be later on the list, spoiler, but the combination of Michael Keaton and funny Michael Keaton and Geta Watanabe like coming and butting heads with each other to try to find common ground. It's actually pretty funny. And not to mention, it's got fucking Norm in it from Cheers. It's got the guy from the Transformer movies, the comedy relief. I can't single out which one because I think everybody was comedy relief. And not only that, because this was an Opie movie, he managed to shoehorn his brother in there. like he always does. Why did this movie not make any waves? Probably because it came out in the 80s when literally every movie was like this. But this one was actually so successful, they tried to turn it into a TV show that didn't fucking work. Opie's brother got another booking though. That's good. Not Michael Keaton. He went on and made Batman. Number 6 is a little more serious, and actually probably like time has been a lot kinder to it. It's The Prestige. The Prestige is the first movie that Christopher Nolan made post-Batman, where he was trying to get the fuck away from Batman, but then he made the conscious effort to, you know, cast Batman. But hey, it's also got Wolverine in it. So there you go. And David Bois. I don't think I have to explain this one. I think this one, like I said, time has been a lot more kind to it than the other ones on the list. It is a really good movie. The twist at the end is totally unexpected, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. But Jackman and Bale, they like really seem like they don't like each other, and it comes out on screen. But it's just about two magicians that don't like each other, and they're all fighting over the same trick. It's a simple story, but boy does it get deep. And yes, for some reason, David Bowie's in it, and he plays Nikola Tesla. That one, the one with the big, that Tesla. It was a bit odd, but hey, I guess it works. He doesn't sound Russian. If you have not seen this movie, though, you need to see it. Especially if you like Christopher Nolan weirdo movies like Interstellar or Dunkirk. This is a lot like the same vein, except it's a much more simple, grounded story than any of the other ones, including Dark Knight. Ooh, I should do one of these where I talk about Dark Knight not being a very good movie and then get crucified. Before we do that, though, go watch this one. Go. Now. Pause the video. Okay, come back. Number 7 is Mr. Brooks, and I love this movie. I do not think this movie was advertised properly. And maybe that's another video I can do. Movies that, like, the trailer did not give you any good indication of what the movie was actually about. I had never seen this movie, but the idea of it was sold to me by a person from my past whom shall remain nameless. Because if you do say her name, her ghoulish figure could possibly appear and, attempt a proposition to do something to your deity. But it was sold to me as Kevin Costner is the bad guy. I really like when the good guy actor, the historically good guy actor, plays a piece of shit or an evil person. Leo Dio, leading guy, he's a piece of shit in Wolf of Wall Street. In this movie, Kevin Costner, leading guy, he's in fucking Dances with Wolves, for Christ's sake. He's a bad guy serial killer. And not only is he a bad guy serial killer, he's also a very convincing bad guy serial killer. And William Hurt, who plays like his conscience, the demon inside of him, is fucking amazing. This movie did not get the play, like I said, because if you watch the trailer, it does not give you a good idea of what the movie is actually about. This movie actually made Dane Cook look good. Like, Dane Cook looked like a comparable actor in this movie, even though he's still just playing Dane Cook. And the fact that Demi Moore is in it, and she's probably the worst part of it, she's a total fucking ham. But the cat and mouse game of a serial killer that's trying to fight his addiction, which is killing people, it's really, really amazingly done, and Kevin Costner is fucking perfect. I did hear the rumor that they were going to make more of them, that there was going to be like a series, an anthology series, but it never came to be, which sucks because the end of it does leave you wanting more, because by the end of it you're actually rooting for Kevin Costner. You just kind of forgive the fact that he has murdered 1,000 people. I don't think this one's streaming on anywhere at the time that I'm recording this, but you can probably find it somewhere on DVD. But it's really good. You should try it. Just don't get any ideas of how to kill people, because you won't succeed. You're not Kevin Costner. You don't have the money. Sorry. Whoop, here he comes. Here comes old Final Fantasy Stan. Ready to... This movie is not what anyone expected, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily objectively bad. There are a lot of themes in Spirits Within that do follow the core tenets, if you will, of Final Fantasy. I think the fact that it was set on Earth is what really turned everyone off, because everyone was expecting dragons, flights of fancy, and magic and wizards and everything that goes with a Final Fantasy game. Put yourself into the position of what Final Fantasy was in 2000. The most recent one that had come out was Final Fantasy IX, which, yes, was a callback to the old Final Fantasy games. But before that, you had 8, 7, and 6, which were very, very techno-industrial, and also like preached against being techno-industrial. Well, maybe not 8. 8 was a little, we learned how to render stuff in 3D better, and let's make everything as shiny as possible. But this is in tape sticks. In fact, Spirits Within has more in line with Final Fantasy VII. Aside from them being set in Earth, it's kind of the same story. The whole idea of the planet being alive and everything is ripped straight from Final Fantasy VII. It's basically the life stream. It's just got James Woods being a piece of shit, and he's not a good Sephiroth. And watching this movie now, it's like the CGI is not that good, but back then, once again, put yourself in that time. As uncanny as it was, it still looked really good. I think just a lot of people were just upset that it wasn't like the Mario movie that just came out. People showing up, where's Cloud? Where's fucking Cloud? Because, you know, everyone in Alabama, they love Cloud. I really like how he's antisocial and deals with a lot of angst, said all the Alabama fans in section GG. That's why I like to think in Alabama fans' minds. Nick Saban, Cloud Strife. There's not a whole lot of separation. But this movie is basically universally reviled. It almost bankrupted Square. Thank goodness 10 came out shortly after. It also, if it weren't for this movie, there wouldn't be Final Fantasy VII Remake. Because if they hadn't had to try to recoup as much money as possible, they wouldn't have opened up the idea for sequel games in the mainline. I might as well change the border to the green thing now. But you can find this movie anywhere. Regurgitate on your keyboard and this movie will probably be somewhere in there. You just have to dig a little deep into it. Just don't do that though. Number 9 is actually an animated movie, and it's actually an anime movie, which I don't think it ever was released in theaters here. I'll have to check. Number 9 is Millennium Actress. According to Wikipedia, this movie bombed in the States, so that's probably why you haven't heard of it. It made less than $40,000 in America, but then again, it was only released in very sparing theaters in the LA, New York area. So not a lot of people have seen this. If you have seen this, it had to have probably either been on DVD, or I think they just released or re-released the remastered Blu-ray of it, which is great because I bought it. Fuck you. But if you like Japanese movies, and I'm talking the classic Japanese movies, the Godzilla movies, stuff like Kurosawa, Throne of Blood, the Samurai trilogy, this movie is a love letter to basically just the history of Japanese cinema, but it's told through the eyes of a actress who is like reminiscing about everything that she's done and all the stuff that she's done. So there's this kind of weird story within a story going on. It jumps back and forth a lot from old her being interviewed to young her going through all these movie roles, her acting career while she's doing this, trying to basically work her way to finding someone that she loved and lost. It's like really well done. It's really well animated. Everyone like gives Akira the tip of the cap when it comes to Japanese animation that made it over here and made it mainstream. Millennium Actress is really, really detailed. Of all the movies that are on this list so far, this one has the most heart. It's kind of one of those movies where at the end of it you learn that the lesson isn't necessarily you trying to go to what you want to achieve. It's just the journey of getting there, and that's what is actually the most beautiful thing. It's very Japanese. It's a very humbling Japanese notion, and not American hold your hand, let's go blow stuff up and get the girl at the end. This one is not one of those movies. No, the whole idea of an open-ended ending, it's become more favorable now, but during this time when it came out, if homeboy doesn't get with the girl and have sex with her, we lose our fucking minds. And I don't think it succeeded, probably because anime was just starting to become mainstream. Like, American animation studios had started like really stealing from the Japanese, all their techniques. At this time, it was like Toonami or bust. If it wasn't on Toonami, a lot of times you didn't see it unless you knew where to look to find it, or you ordered shit online. Nowadays, you got shit like Ben 10 and fucking whatever else. It's all anime now. Whatever the kids enjoy. I don't know. Kids still watch Ben 10? The fuck is Ben 10? All the Ben 10 fans are sitting around saying, shut up, boomer. Your stupid Jurassic Park shirt. Was that movie like 80 years old? And the last on our list, but certainly not least, and let me gush for a second, is The Last Samurai. I know why this movie, not to critics, but to Joe Moviegoer, why it was reviled when it was announced and the trailer started rolling out. Because I lived it. I remember going to see a movie in the theater when I was in college, and this movie, there was a big advertisement for this movie. It said The Last Samurai on the bottom, and there's fucking Tom Cruise. Everyone kind of went into this movie with the idea and the notion that this was just like a Tom Cruise vanity project where he is the last samurai. What a lot of people don't realize, and what a lot of people, especially down south way, where I'm from, they don't realize that samurai is plural as it is singular. And the movie's not about Tom Cruise. Maybe it's not fair to say the movie's not about Tom Cruise. It is about Tom Cruise. It's told from his perspective. But the movie is about the broader scope of Japan versus the Meiji Restoration. How that played with traditional values versus Western values, which, like I said and teased, is a lot like Gung Ho. And it also got a lot of flack for being basically too similar to Dances with Wolves. An American guy, post-Civil War era, goes to Japan, ends up falling in love with the culture that he's been hired to fight and quell, their culture and their ways of life, because it is more beautiful and more esoteric than let's go conquer everything. So yes, it is very similar to Dances with Wolves, but for this movie to kind of like not get the credit that it deserved then, because if you actually saw it, you would realize that this movie's really fucking good. And what's more unfair about it is, like, 6 years later, Avatar comes out, and Avatar is Dances with Wolves with blue people. But it's purty. I would sit here and argue with you till I'm blue in the face that The Last Samurai is way more beautiful and a much better looking movie than Avatar will ever be. And that's because everything in Last Samurai is real. And the scene that really makes this movie, and you finally understand what they're trying to show you, is the scene when Yujiro, who's played by Scorpion, like having the practice sword fight in the rain. Yujiro is obviously better than him. He's Japanese, he's studied this, he knows what to do, his attacks are precise. Every attack that he makes is like strategically supposed to go in a certain place, and he whips Tom Cruise's ass. But on the other side, it shows that Tom Cruise, the American, won't stay down. And that's the culture clash. Japanese culture is in this search, this never-ending search for perfection, whereas the American side of it is that never give up, won't give up attitude, never say die. And when they finally come together and they engrave it on the sword at the end, it really shows what the story that they were trying to tell. Not that The Last Samurai is Tom Cruise. You know, this isn't 47 Ronin, which was a vanity project. And I love Keanu Reeves, but it is a vanity project. So there you go. There's 10 movies that you need to probably go watch if you haven't already. I'll wait. I'll see you in 6 months. Not because that's how long it's going to take you to watch all these, but that's how long it's going to take me to make another video. Where I have lots of ideas, and I know I say that at the end of every video, and then you don't hear from me for a very, very long time. But you know what? We're going to get there. We're going to keep on keeping on. But until that day, I'm going to take 6 weeks to edit this. You're seeing the end result, if I haven't died already. And in case you didn't know, while you're at it, if you wanted to watch me live and in living color with the Skytown, who isn't here, you can always go to the Twitch channel, which might be somewhere in the description down there. YouTube, they'll move it eventually. And if you want to buy a shirt, buy a shirt. I got shirts. Wear a shirt, walk around town, let people look at it and see the design and be like, what the fuck is that? But until next time, Joe Moviegoer, I'm gonna get this snot out of my throat.